The morning light flooded Studio 1A as the familiar upbeat theme of the Today Show played, signaling the start of another lively segment. Kelly Clarkson, dressed in a vibrant red ensemble that hugged her curves perfectly, strode onto the set with her signature confident smile, waving to the audience and blowing kisses toward the cameras. Carson Daly, seated comfortably on the iconic couch, greeted her warmly, his easygoing charm on full display as he stood to give her a quick hug. The conversation began innocently enough, with Kelly promoting her latest single and sharing lighthearted stories about her kids and recent adventures in music. The chemistry between the two longtime friends from their shared NBC family was palpable at first, to Carson teasing her about her powerhouse vocals, Kelly firing back with playful jabs about his hosting style. Laughter echoed through the studio, and the audience hung on every word, enjoying the effortless banter that had become a hallmark of these cross-show appearances. But beneath the surface, tensions had been simmering for weeks. Whispers in the hallways about creative differences, scheduling conflicts, and unspoken frustrations had built up like storm clouds. Kelly had been vocal in recent interviews about wanting more control over her career narrative, especially after years of navigating personal challenges and professional pressures. Carson, ever the steady presence on the Today Show, had his own stresses with the evolving morning lineup and the constant demands of live television. As the segment progressed, the discussion shifted from music to more personal territory. Kelly's journey of independence post-divorce, her bold decisions in the industry, and how she was finally calling the shots in her life. Carson nodded along, but his comments started to feel probing, almost skeptical, as if questioning whether her "I'm the boss" attitude was sustainable in the cutthroat world of entertainment. The tone subtly changed. What began as admiration turned into subtle challenges. Kelly's smile tightened, her responses grew sharper, and the audience sensed the shift in energy. The fiery argument ignited when Carson innocently asked about balancing her talk show, music releases, and potential returns to other NBC projects, implying it might be overwhelming. Kelly pushed back firmly, defending her choices with passion, her voice rising as she explained how she had earned the right to decide her path without constant scrutiny. The exchange escalated quickly. Her words flew like sparks, each one landing harder than the last. Viewers at home leaned closer to their screens, stunned by the raw emotion unfolding live. Kelly's hands gestured emphatically, her eyes flashing with intensity, while Carson tried to steer the conversation back to neutral ground, but the damage was done. The studio lights seemed brighter, the air thicker with unspoken resentment. In a moment that would replay across social media for days, Kelly stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "I'm done with this," she declared, her voice steady but laced with hurt. Without another word, she turned and walked off the set, leaving Carson visibly shocked, the co-hosts frozen in place, and the entire production team scrambling. The cameras captured every second of the dramatic exit, the way her red dress swished as she disappeared behind the backdrop, the stunned silence that followed. It was one of those rare, unscripted moments in live TV that no one could predict or control. As the segment cut to commercial, chaos erupted behind the scenes. Producers rushed onto the set, whispering urgently into headsets, while makeup artists and crew members exchanged wide-eyed glances. Carson remained seated for a moment, running a hand through his hair, clearly rattled by how quickly things had spiraled. He had known Kelly for years. Their friendship dated back to her early days on American Idol and his MTV hosting era, but this clash felt different, deeper, rooted in mutual respect tested by the pressures of fame. Backstage, Kelly paced in a quiet corner, breathing heavily, tears threatening to spill as the adrenaline faded. Friends from her team surrounded her, offering water and soft words, but she waved them off, needing space to process. The argument had touched on sensitive topics, her past marriage, the scrutiny over her weight and image, the expectations placed on women in entertainment, and how Carson's well-meaning questions had felt like judgment in the heat of the moment. She hadn't planned to storm off. It just happened, a culmination of frustrations that had been building for months. Meanwhile, the control room buzzed with decisions. Should they acknowledge the incident on air? Cut to another segment. The producers opted for damage control, transitioning smoothly to weather and news as if nothing had happened. But the damage was irreversible. Social media exploded within minutes as hashtags like #KellyStormsOff and #TodayShowDrama trended worldwide. Fans defended Kelly fiercely, praising her for standing up for herself, while others criticized Carson for pushing too far. Clips of the moment circulated rapidly, showing the exact instant her expression changed from playful to pained. Kelly's supporters flooded her accounts with messages of love, reminding her she was strong and deserved respect. Carson, ever the professional, issued a brief statement later that day through NBC, expressing regret for any discomfort and emphasizing that their friendship remained intact. But the public wanted more: an explanation, an apology, something to make sense of the chaos. In the hours following the incident, Kelly retreated to her dressing room, reflecting on what had transpired. She thought about her journey from a small-town girl to a global superstar, the battles she had fought to maintain authenticity in an industry that often demanded conformity. Storming off wasn't her usual style. She was known for her warmth and humor, but in that moment, it felt necessary, a boundary she needed to set. As the day wore on, calls came in from industry friends, offering support and sharing their own stories of on-air tensions. It reminded her she wasn't alone. Live television was unpredictable, emotions ran high, and sometimes the mask slipped. Yet she also felt a twinge of regret, not for defending herself, but for the way it affected the team and the viewers who tuned in for uplifting morning content. The incident became a talking point on every entertainment show, with pundits dissecting the body language, the words exchanged, and what it revealed about power dynamics in media. The fallout from Kelly's dramatic exit tripled through the entertainment world like a shockwave. Tabloids splashed headlines screaming Kelly Clarkson storms off today after fire clash with Carson Daly, while late-night hosts joked about the morning show meltdown. Fans dissected every frame of the clip, analyzing facial expressions and tone of voice for clues about what really sparked the argument. Some theorized it stemmed from deeper issues, perhaps lingering tensions from their overlapping work on The Voice, or unspoken differences in how they viewed career longevity in the spotlight. Others believed it was simply a bad day amplified by live TV's unforgiving nature. Kelly, back in her own space, spent the evening journaling her thoughts, processing the mix of empowerment and vulnerability that came with such a public moment. She received messages from fellow artists who had endured similar on-air blow-ups, reminding her that authenticity, while risky, was ultimately freeing. Carson, meanwhile, faced his own wave of scrutiny. Longtime viewers questioned if his laid-back demeanor sometimes masked impatience, and colleagues rallied around him, affirming that these things happen in high-pressure environments. NBC executives held emergency meetings, weighing the impact on ratings and brand image. Surprisingly, the incident boosted viewership. A curiosity drove millions to watch replays and seek out context. It sparked broader conversations about mental health in the industry, the toll of constant public exposure, and the need for better boundaries between personal and professional life. Kelly emerged stronger, using the experience as fuel for her next chapter. She posted a subtle but powerful message on social media, a photo of herself smiling with the caption "Owning my story, one step at a time." It resonated deeply, garnering millions of likes and supportive comments. Carson responded indirectly, sharing a clip of their past positive interactions, signaling a desire to move forward. The two eventually spoke privately, clearing the air in a heartfelt conversation that reaffirmed their mutual respect. The argument, though painful, became a catalyst for growth. Kelly embracing her power even more boldly, Carson reflecting on his interviewing style. In the weeks that followed, the Today Show continued with its usual energy, but with a newfound awareness of how quickly things could shift. Kelly returned to her own show, channeling the experience into more vulnerable, honest segments that connected even deeper with her audience. The incident proved that even in polished morning television, real human emotions could break through, reminding everyone that behind the smiles and scripts were people navigating complex lives. It became a defining moment, not of division, but of resilience and the courage to walk away when necessary. Months later, the memory of that fateful morning lingered like a ghost in the halls of NBC studios. Kelly often reflected on it during quiet moments, recognizing it as a turning point in her public persona. No longer willing to smooth over discomfort for the sake of appearances, she leaned into her truth more fully, Whether in interviews, performances, or her daily life, fans noticed the shift. Her energy felt freer, more unapologetic, as if the Stormoff had released something long held back. Carson, too, carried lessons from the day. He approached guest interactions with renewed sensitivity, listening more intently before responding. The Today Show team incorporated subtle changes, emphasizing mental health check-ins and open communication to prevent similar escalations. Viewers appreciated the authenticity. It humanized the hosts, making the show feel less like a production and more like a real conversation. Industry insiders buzzed about how the incident influenced other live programs. The producers became more vigilant about pre-interview briefings, ensuring topics stayed within comfortable bounds. Kelly's career flourished in the aftermath. Her music releases gained renewed attention, with lyrics that echoed themes of empowerment and self-assertion. Collaborations poured in, and her talk show ratings climbed as audiences tuned in for her genuine approach. Carson continued hosting with his trademark charm, occasionally referencing the day in self-deprecating humor that endeared him further to viewers. The friendship between them endured, evolving into something more mature and respectful. They even shared a lighthearted reunion segment months later, laughing about the infamous walk-off and turning it into a teachable moment about communication. The audience cheered, relieved to see harmony restored. It proved that conflicts, when handled with grace, could strengthen bonds rather than break them. The story became part of television lore, a cautionary tale about the volatility of live broadcasts, but also an inspiring example of accountability and forgiveness. Kelly often said in later interviews that walking off wasn't about drama, it was about honoring her worth. That single act sparked a wave of discussions on women's voices in media, encouraging others to speak up without fear. The red dress she wore that day became symbolic, a bold, unmissable, a statement of presence. As time passed, the incident faded from daily headlines but remained etched in memory as the moment Kelly Clarkson reminded the world she was in control of her narrative. It was a chapter closed with dignity, paving the way for a new beginnings filled with purpose and power. Reflecting on the broader impact, the Kelly-Carson clash highlighted the unique pressures of morning television, where hosts must balance entertainment, news, and personal connection under constant scrutiny. In an era of social media immediacy, every word and gesture could go viral, amplifying emotions tenfold. Kelly's decision to leave the set, though impulsive, resonated with many who had felt silenced in their own lives. Support groups and online communities formed around the theme of walking away when it's too much, turning a television moment into a cultural touchstone. Carson's role as the calm mediator came under examination, prompting him to advocate more openly for work-life balance in interviews. NBC used the event as an opportunity to review protocols, ensuring talent felt supported rather than exposed. Kelly channeled her experience into advocacy, speaking at events about mental wellness and boundaries in the spotlight. Her authenticity drew even larger crowds to her concerts, where fans sang along with renewed fervor. The argument, once seen as a scandal, transformed into a story of empowerment. It inspired scripts for TV shows, podcasts dissecting celebrity conflicts, and even academic papers on media dynamics. Carson and Kelly's eventual reconciliation became a model for handling public disagreements gracefully. They appeared together at charity events, their easy rapport proving that respect could survive tension. The Today Show incorporated more diverse voices, reflecting a commitment to inclusivity sparked by the incident. Kelly's legacy grew. She was no longer just the American Idol winner but a trailblazer who redefined strength. Young artists looked to her as proof that vulnerability and power could coexist. The day she stormed off became folklore in entertainment circles, a reminder that even icons have breaking points, and that's okay. It encouraged honest conversations about burnout, expectations, and the cost of constant performance. As seasons changed and new stories emerged, the memory endured as a pivotal moment when authenticity trumped polish. Kelly continued to thrive, releasing music that spoke directly to the heart, while Carson remained a steady presence, wiser for the experience. The clash, in the end, was not destructive but transformative, proving that from conflict could come deeper understanding and stronger connections. Years after the event, when people reminisced about iconic television moments, the Kelly Clarkson storm off with Carson Daly always ranked high. It was the day live TV showed its raw side, unfiltered and real. Kelly looked back on it with a mix of amusement and pride, knowing she had stood up for herself in a way that inspired countless others. Carson, too, viewed it as a growth experience, one that made him a better listener and colleague. The incident faded into the background of their successful careers, but its lessons remained. Kelly's music evolved, incorporating themes of resilience and self-love that connected on a profound level. Carson's hosting style softened, bringing more warmth to mornings across America. Fans who witnessed the moment carried it with them, applying its message to their own lives and knowing when to stay and when to walk away. The red dress, the sharp words, the sudden exit all became symbols of courage. In a world obsessed with perfection, this imperfect, human moment stood out. It reminded everyone that even the brightest stars have shadows, and facing them head-on is the truest form of strength. As Kelly continued to conquer stages and Carson anchored mornings, their shared history added depth to their stories. The fiery argument, once shocking, became legendary, a testament to the power of honesty in an often scripted world. And so, the chapter closed not with regret, but with gratitude for the growth it brought. Life moved forward, richer and more authentic because of that one dramatic morning in Studio 1A.